Sport is an inherent part of Australian culture, but women's sport is yet to catch on. Appropriately, when Associated Press released its top 10 list of female athletes in 2009, two of them were racehorses. With the exposure of male sport expanding emphatically, one begs the question, what is being done about women's sport? New initiatives are attempting to change this stigma, bringing women's sport into a whole new realm. But first, let's take a look into the history of Australian women's sport. During the 1800s, a domestic social living standard became accepted in Australian society. Despite contrary preconceived ideas, this way of living did lead to an active lifestyle, keeping many women healthy. However, despite Australia's passion for sport in the early 20th century, and their role in developing and organising the structure of sport, the involvement of women remained low. Women's interest in sport has historically circulated around Olympic Games. In 1912, for example, two female swimmers won medals at the Stockholm Olympics, resulting in a boost in women's sport. The 1956 Melbourne Olympic Games also saw Australia's women's sports thrive, with a tally of 12 medals, comparatively stronger than the men's performance. However, in the aftermath of the unsuccessful 1976 Montreal Olympic Games, women's sport was ignored for a number of years, and it wasn't until the opening of the Australian Institute of Sport in 1981 that women again received financial support and encouragement. The enactment of equal opportunity and anti-discrimination legislation in the 1970s and the Commonwealth Sex Discrimination Act in 1984 were also major steps for sporting clubs, as they were forced to provide greater options for women. Women are now receiving more support and encouragement than ever, and Australian women's sport is looking very strong due to a number of initiatives taking place. One initiative has been the Sport for Women Day, which combats negative portrayals and raises the profile of women's sport. The event was held in Sydney and Canberra and involved activities such as a world record Zumba attempt and a tug-of-war competition involving a number of notable female athletes.
Whatever we can do to raise the profile as much as we can and encourage more women to participate, the better. Hopefully one day we can be on par with the guys, and as I said, that's our responsibility in the community to promote it as best we can.
A 2006 Senate inquiry found women are just as involved as men when it comes to sport. For example, women made up more than 45% of Australia's Beijing Olympic team and won more than half our gold medals. It is the interest in women's sport that needs to be improved. According to a sports press survey from 2005, only 6% of sports coverage is devoted to female athletes, in comparison with 86% for male athletes.
One of our initiatives is to try and get a sports channel, probably with 50% of it dedicated to women's sport. A question that people ask is, would people watch women's sport? Well, we don't really know because we're not really given that option.
Women's sport is, however, beginning to gain attention from the media, with sponsors and television networks realising the merit in investing in women's sport. The ABC, for example, has begun telecasting the Matildas matches, whilst 10 hours a week of live netball coverage during the 19-week season is also available. As Liz Ellis stated, women's netball is now paying more than men's basketball in Australia. The popularity of certain female athletes such as Elise Perry, Stephanie Gilmore, Tora Bright and Lauren Jackson is growing at a fast rate. Investors and sponsors are noticing that the Australian audience finds women appealing. However, women still remain underrepresented when it comes to their earnings. According to the Forbes Top 50 list of highest paid athletes, Maria Sharapova is the only woman to make the cut, which is largely due to her lucrative sponsorship deal with Nike. It's not just on the field that women are seeking greater recognition. The most recent initiatives are focused on involving women in coaching, administrative and management roles. The Australian Sports Commission, for example, has released its Sports Leadership Grants program for women, a scheme aimed at increasing women's involvement in senior sporting organisation roles. The program has supported over 16,000 women since its inception in 2002, with a total funding allocation of $3.3 million. In 2010-11, the funding supported over 100 projects and was aimed at 5 areas: coaching, officiating, governance, management and administration, and communications, media and marketing. Similar aimed programs include a Women in Sport Leadership Register and the Sydney Scoreboard. Figures from the Australian Sports Commission demonstrate a low representation of females in sports administration, with women comprising of only 23% of all board positions in national sporting organisations. The push for greater involvement from females is not just at an international or national level. Programs starting at a grassroots and state level are just as important in maintaining the involvement of women in sport. Furthermore, the push for greater involvement is not restricted to a specific socio-economic level either. The Australian Sports Commission's Women and Sport unit is attempting to make sport more inclusive for women from all backgrounds. This unit and other projects focused on women in sport developed as a result of research conducted by the Australian Government, which found that schoolgirls with few role models and those who did not play sport were disadvantaged and generally had low self-esteem. The push for greater recognition of women's sport is simply a reflection of the achievements of Australia's female athletes. Of Australia's top 5 Olympic medal winners of all time, 4 of them are women. And in 2010, Australia had 18 world champions and world title holders, all women. There is no doubting the success of women's sport in Australia, but as a starting point, this success just needs to be recognised.